So, lighting. First things first. Those TL tubes or lights that come all the way from the top, you see the moment it hits you at the top of the head, your eyes turn into little raccoon eyes, nice and sunken and shaded, and you've got this Neanderthal look going. So that's probably the things we don't want. So let me just switch off the light. 1, 2, 3, and off we go. Now what you will see is the camera is compensating with the ambient light. Now the ambient light we have in here is not that great, but it will also fluctuate because the light that is coming in is the light from the window. So we want to cut that out as well. The more we control the light, the easier it is for us to do what we want to do. The moment you bring in natural light, you end up with the clouds going past it, or a rainstorm coming out, or some thunder and lightning, and that flashes on the screen. So the more you can control the light, the easier it is to create a specific look. So I'm going to close the curtains here so we do not have any more ambient light, or very little. But now someone's coming off my computer screen, and to do something there, I normally set my background to black. So as you can see, the moment I do that, it makes things a little bit darker even. So the next thing I need to do is think about what kind of light do I want. Now, instead of going through all the different lighting schemes and all the possibilities, which there are quite a few of, I'm going to give you a few basic tips. If you wear glasses like me, the light needs to be 45 degrees up, 45 degrees to your side, and get yourself some glasses that are anti-glare. That'll help a lot. So what I've got is, to the left of me here, I've got a key light that I can use, which has been previously set up. And I'll switch that on. As you can see, blows out the camera completely till the camera is adjusted. Now what you will see is there's this shadow on my face. Now the thing with shadows, the shadows are great for moodiness. But what we want to do is we want to have the camera on the shadow side. Simply be that is the way that it looks like, what it looks like on TV, the way that we're used to seeing in the movie, so it looks more natural. The next thing we want to do is get a little bit of light coming in again from this side, from where the window is. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to switch on another light, and that light will reflect things from that side. I will just have to give it a little bit of help with a reflector, so something that is like a sheet or a white pillowcase or anything like that. The bigger the better. So talking about the bigger the better, you are my audience, you're the camera, you're looking at me. When you look at my head, from that perspective, the light should be relatively to my head at least 3 times the size, preferably 5 to 10. All right, so the bigger the light, the better. That doesn't mean the light bulb needs to be big. It means the light source needs to be big. So you can take a light bulb, put it behind a pillowcase. You can put a light bulb, put it behind a sheet. A sheet will give you a bigger light. Okay, so the light source, or where the light's coming from, the bigger the better, and the more diffuse, or that means the more widely spread out it is and not on a spot only, the better it looks. So it'll wrap around the face a little bit, so it looks a little bit more natural. So we've got a relatively natural look here, but we still have that shadow side. So I'm not going to increase the light too much on this side, so we can keep the shadow there so you can see where the shadow lands. The other little trick is look for the nose. Look at where is the shadow for the nose, and as we turn it, you'll see that the shadow falls around about here. Oops, there. There's a little bit of light that kisses the cheek, and that's the sort of thing we're trying to look for. That is called Rembrandt lighting. Not much get into much detail about it. But the next thing we need to do with light is, one, we need at least one good key light with a soft source and nice and big, so it can wrap around the face a little bit. Then we need to have the camera on the one side, and then we need to separate ourselves from the background. Now, as you can see, it's a really bad background. We're not going to worry about that too much. I'll do that in a second, but first we're going to look at how do I separate myself from the background. And for that, I need to turn on another light. So now that that's on, we can do the remote. And here we go. So now that you see that light's come on, now I don't want it to shine all the way on my background stuff, all right? I want it to shine on my hair. So because I'm a little bit gray, you can see here, it gives me a little bit of a highlight. but it also dresses or goes across my shoulders and the chair. So that means it's separating me, it's highlighting the object from behind, so I'm separated from the background. So a little bit more light off the stuff in the background will also help. Change that a little bit, so now not as much light on the background itself. So that is the basics of light. Separate yourself from the background and make sure you've got a light source that's nice and big and warm. It's going to wrap around your face, and that will help you for your basic setup. So think about what you have at home, think about what you've been using up to now, and think about the size of the light source. And think about things like a white sheet that you can put in front of a light to make sure that the light source becomes a bit bigger. Now, you can do a little exercise with your buddy and think about what kind of things can you use, what do you have around the house, what kind of light bulbs do you have. And another little trick is if you move the light further away from the sheet that's hanging in front of it, the bigger it will get on the other side. But the closer you bring it, the more intense it'll be. So even if you have a light bulb that is not adjustable, you can still change the light that gets to you by moving it further away from and closer to a sheet. So this is where we're going to stop lighting, have a bit of a discussion about that. Think about what are you going to be able to do at home and what are you going to do in the next week or two to try this out and see how you can change the lighting of the subject, which is usually you as a speaker, in your home setup. Okay.